All right, man, peace. So this is a video that I said, you know what, I should probably make just based off of this segment. They're going to report on the popularity of lobster in America. And I just wanted to make a few statements about this issue. So let's see what Nora O'Donnell has to say.
Lobstermen and women in Maine brought in a record catch last year. About 80% of lobsters caught in the U.S. come from the state. The record is good news for the growing ranks of lobster roll lovers around the world, me included. But prices for the glorified lobster sandwich have been on the rise, hovering around $20. Don Daler is in Tennants Harbor, Maine, with a lesson in lobster economics. Don, good morning.
Good morning. Over the past few hours, 6 lobster boats pulled away from here, heading out on their daily task of pulling up hundreds of these lobster traps in search of that tasty treasure of the sea. But it wasn't always viewed as such. Lobster was once so disdained as food, it was fed only to prisoners. No longer. Now, when it comes to coveted seafood, lobster is king.
Brothers, the reason why lobster was disdained was because up until the mid-1800s, lobster was understood to be a scavenger, which is what it is. All right. For those of you brothers who know the scriptures, you know that in Leviticus, the 11th chapter, it tells you not to eat bottom feeders. What are bottom feeders? Lobster, crab, shrimp, oysters, clams, mussels, right? You're not supposed to eat those things. Things like octopus and squid and cuttlefish and all this other crazy shit that's in the ocean that's in there for a purpose and a reason. All right. Even conventional science will tell you that crustaceans, as they're called, are basically overgrown underwater insects. Their job is to do away with dead animals. Right. That's what lobsters and crabs do. They eat dead fish. That is their job. In the same way that the swine or the pig is a scavenger. Right. A pig will eat deteriorating flesh, corpses, feces. All right. That's why you're not supposed to eat swine, because you will get something called trichinosis. All right. Trichinosis is basically when you get infected with intestinal worms. All right. Those worms eventually go move throughout your body, through your bloodstream, and they enter your muscles, cause excessive fatigue. All right. In some cases, death. You're not supposed to eat those things. All right. But you know what? I'll chime in as this goes along.
If there was an official food of summer, the lobster roll would be a lead contender.
It's the essence of summer. It always makes me feel like I'm at the beach.
And it's not just in New England. You can now get an authentic Maine lobster roll pretty much anywhere around the U.S.
Oh, anyway, you can have lobster. I like to have lobster.
You can also find the seafood treat at McDonald's in 6 northeastern states.
Even if you do eat lobster, why the fuck would you eat a lobster roll from McDonald's? McDonald's don't even offer real meat. You think they offering you real lobster? I don't know what that shit is, but I guarantee you that lobster roll at McDonald's, that is not real lobster meat. Allegedly. But I promise you that.
I think it's a hamburger of the sea.
I'm just a big lobster fan, so like anything is good.
Liz, we have your box ready.
That is not the hamburger of the sea. All right. You know what a hamburger of the sea would be? Maybe if you had like maybe if you had like, some type of swordfish or something along those lines. Anyway, brothers, to make a long story short, you're really only supposed to eat fish that has scales and fins. All right. That's really all that you're supposed to eat. But a high quality fish, that would be like a hamburger of the sea. If you were to, to slice it into chops and put it in between 2 slices of bread. But no, not no damn lobster and crab. Those are bottom feeders. That's why you have people who suffer allergic reactions when they eat those foods. All right. Back in the day, when I used to eat lobster, shrimp, and crab, I used to go in. Like, I didn't go to a restaurant. I used to cook that shit. I used to cook the hell out of it. All right. One day I had a shrimp cocktail, and I kid you not, I had a shrimp cocktail. I woke up the next day, and my whole left side was numb. from my left hip all the way down to my foot was numb. I said, what in the fuck is going on? My whole left leg was numb. I said, I must have had some bad. I had never had that type of reaction before. And it took me a while to realize that it was the shrimp. But, me being a hardhead, I went out like 2 weeks later, I bought another shrimp cocktail. Same thing happened. I said, wow, I've never had this reaction before to this food, but I guess I better stop eating it. And this was before I came into the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times these different signs, and once again, a lot of people have allergic reactions. They have skin inflammations and things of that nature, and they don't understand that it's the food that they're eating. Certain food that you eat causes toxicity in your blood. All right. And that results in skin inflammations like psoriasis and eczema. Certain things that a lot of so-called people of color are starting to suffer from eating these foods. You're not supposed to be eating shrimp, crab, and lobster. And I know, brothers, look, I know Shorty wants you to take her to Red Lobster and all this other shit. Because the so-called black woman, they love Red Lobster. But you're not supposed to eat that stuff, man. That stuff causes so many problems. Mercury poisoning and stuff of that nature. You got to leave it alone.
As demand for this delicacy has gone up, so has its price.
2 years ago or even last year, it was cheap, and it's kind of like, oh, wow, lobster was in everything. And now it's kind of back to being a little bit more of a luxury.
I mean, people think of Maine, they think of lobster, they come here, they want a lobster. And so it's important that we capture that feeling.
Matt Jacobson leads an organization touting Maine lobster around the world.
It's sort of that affordable luxury, right? It's the vacation on a plate.
The journey to that plate begins here in the waters off Maine that have the perfect temperature to nurture lobsters. Tom Martin is one of almost 6,000 licensed lobstermen who are benefiting from an underwater population explosion. Last year, Maine lobstermen pulled up a record 130 million pounds. That's nearly double what they were bringing in 10 years ago.
The catch keeps going up and the demand keeps going up a little bit faster. So
130 million pounds of lobster. Really, the reason why they're trying to publicize the eating of lobster is because it's so lucrative. So that's basically how you make your money. That's basic business, is to make people think that something is exclusive, or that something is is representative of high society to eat. Like I was saying, if you do the history on lobster, there was a time when eating lobster was indicative of people who were in poverty. All right. And then it got kind of popular in the mid 1800s, according to certain historical records. They claim that it gained in popularity during the advent of the railroad lines, specifically under people like Vanderbilt, etc. And it got to be popular because people were eating lobster and they didn't know what they were eating. Because at one time they would cook lobster during the 1800s. They would cook it after it had already died. And people did not, of course, they didn't like the meat because it was being cooked after it was already dead. What happened during the proliferation of the railroad lines, when they would feed people who were taking cross-country trips, they would cook the lobster fresh. And people were like, wow, what is this meat? This is tremendous. And then, they would be told that it was lobster. So it became big amongst the people of the higher social strata. So in the early 1900s, all the way into the 1920s, it was big until the Great Depression. And then once again, it became more symbolic of people who were poor or who were in poverty. All right. They would go down by the river and they would eat lobster that had washed up ashore. And then back in the 1940s, it became big amongst the troops. They would feed the troops a lot of canned lobster as a source of protein when they were engaging in trench warfare and during World War II. And then from the 1950s onward, it started to gain in prominence again.
So the prices stay up, which is good for, obviously really good for the fishermen. We haven't really seen a very strong catch yet this season, but that could change any day now.
We got to find more markets for all the fish, right? I mean, we've got a lot of lobster. We got to find more mouths to eat it.
And they have.
Looking forward to this.
As demand has exploded worldwide, especially Asia, so have prices.
Let me tell you, look, them Asians, they'll eat any fucking thing. All right. I remember I went into an Asian restaurant. I just happened to have been in an Asian neighborhood that day. You know, for those of you brothers who are in New York City, you know, there's a neighborhood Flushing in Queens. I went to an Asian restaurant. I looked at the menu because I was hungry. I looked at the menu. I said, you know, let me try to get something to eat. Dead ass, I looked at the menu. It said, you know, first I had it in the Asian language and then in English. It's like snake testicles. I said, who the fuck is eating snake testicles? So I know they'll eat any goddamn thing. Don't you know some of the worst things that you can eat are inside of that crustacean? Like what they call I believe they call it the roll of the lobster. You're not supposed to eat that nasty shit. Or the crab too. That stuff is disgusting, man. Look at this little girl here. She probably done built up a tolerance to it. So she could probably eat straight out of a damn garbage can right now at this point. You guys are not supposed to eat that stuff, brothers. All right? That's why a lot of times, a lot of these younger black kids, so-called black kids, they're getting a lot of these allergies now. They're getting a lot of skin problems now from eating a lot of this polluted and toxic food.
When we started Luke's back in 2009, we were buying lobster meat for $14 a pound. You know, we're now up to $30 a pound for lobster meat.
Luke Holden is a third-generation lobsterman. He's also the entrepreneur behind Luke's Lobsters. He and his partners started with one lobster shack in New York. They now have more than 25 in the United States.
You see the black woman there. Damn. That paper bag like it's about to break. Shit. She got about 5-6 lobster rolls in there. Girl, I got me a lobster roll. I got one for the whole week, and I got one for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm gonna go get my head did. I'm gonna eat me a lobster roll.
In the United States and 6 in Japan.
And I know a lot of you brothers, like I said before, a lot of you brothers, you take your woman out, and we already know the so-called black woman, she loves lobster and crab and all that other stuff. All right? So I already know, but brothers, y'all ain't supposed to eat that stuff. And if you can, try to talk your woman out of eating it. All right? For her own benefit. Like I said, that's one of the reasons why a lot of children are being born with these issues like eczema and psoriasis, and it's from what they're eating and what the woman is eating.
If the supply's so good, why are the prices still so high?
The demand has continued to grow at that exponential rate. So now we've got a market where demand, I think, is in excess of supply. So we've got a very stable price.
Luke's Lobster's processing arm, Cape Seafood, expects to ship 5 million pounds this year, part of a crucial industry for Maine. These crustaceans contribute more than $1 billion a year to the state's economy.
Wow, $1 billion a year. So you see why they're promoting it so hard. All right? That's why they're promoting it so hard. Brothers have to understand all of these states are broke. All of them are in deficit. Why is that? They're not using real money. All right? So they need to promote these different business outlets like eating lobster and all this other shit because they're broke.
And contribute to a way of life that goes back generations. Got 3 lobster rolls and a new culinary experience for many, gaining a lot of fans.
Oh, it's expensive, but it's worth it. Once a month, you gotta splurge. Every now and then.
This season has started off a little more slowly than past years, but we're told that should pick up over the next few days. Now, unlike other fisheries around the world, Maine's lobster beds are thriving in part because fishermen long ago set strict limits to the size of the lobsters they could keep.
Yeah, that, and they probably also genetically modifying a lot of those lobsters. A lot of those, you know, when you're dealing with fisheries like that, they basically turn them into farms. All right, especially the the so-called Caucasian, they genetically modify as much as they can.
They want them to be 3 1/4 inches, the back part of the lobster here. They have to be bigger than that, but they don't want them too big, and they want absolutely no reproducing females. Nora.
Well, there you go, Don. Thank you. How do you like your lobster?
I
like my lobster just like you. Hard to break into and red as hell.
Drive up to the coast of Maine there, to Georgetown and New Harbor, and, with the family, and those are the best place to go, to the lobster shacks. Not, it's one thing in a restaurant, it's another actually getting it in Maine.
You said the season's slow after that segment. I think it's going to pick up quickly.
Maybe so.
We're all hungry.
Yeah, that was the point of it, to promote their lobster industry, right, and help poison some more people eating them damn bottom feeders. Right? Don't you know you can't even really clean an animal like that properly, because their entire system is based off of eating fecal waste, man. All right, that's what I said. It's like eating a pig. You're not supposed to eat swine, right? Swine, they're like the garbage men of the earth. That's what that's what they were set up to be. That's what the Lord set them up to be. The underwater version is the shrimp, the crab, the lobster, the clam, the oyster, etc. Not supposed to eat them things, man.
Okay, tomorrow we...
But nah, no, I'm not worried about tomorrow, Nora. But anyway, I just wanted to cover that because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you brothers and even some of you sisters who are listening, you know, you might be wondering why your child has eczema or psoriasis or has these allergic reactions. It's because of some of those foods that you're feeding them. All right? Stay away from the shellfish. Anyway, peace.